When Mama Rose opened her door to find 12 black SUVs parked outside her ramshackle home, engines running, men in dark suits stepping out with briefcases, she knew her life was about to change forever. The small boy she'd saved from the blizzard just 24 hours ago, the one who'd barely spoken English, whose expensive clothes were hidden beneath layers of snow, wasn't just any lost child. He was the missing prince of Dubai, and now his father's security team was standing at her door. The wind howled like a wounded animal as Mama Rose shuffled to her kitchen window, clutching her worn housecoat against the February cold. At 63, she'd weathered many storms in her tiny Detroit home, but this blizzard was different, meaner, more relentless. The power had been out for hours, and her last candle flickered dangerously low. That's when she saw him. A small figure stumbled through the knee-deep snow in her backyard, no bigger than her grandson Marcus would be if he were still alive. The child fell, got up, fell again. Mama Rose's heart clenched. Without thinking, she grabbed her late husband's heavy coat and plunged into the storm. "Baby! Baby! Come here," she called, her voice nearly lost in the wind. The boy looked up, his dark eyes wide with terror and exhaustion. He couldn't have been more than 8 years old. When she reached him, she saw his lips were blue, his small body trembling violently. He wore expensive-looking clothes beneath the snow, a cashmere sweater, fine leather boots. But luxury meant nothing against nature's fury. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow at the same time, we'll bring you another story of black people leading the way that you won't want to miss. "Can you understand me, honey?" she asked, wrapping him in the coat. He nodded weakly, his teeth chattering so hard he couldn't speak. She half carried, half dragged him to her house, kicking the door shut against the howling wind. Inside, she sat him by her wood-burning stove, the only source of heat left, and began rubbing warmth back into his frozen hands. "What's your name, baby?" she whispered. Ahmed," he managed through chattering teeth. "Where are your parents, Ahmed?" The boy's eyes filled with tears, and he shook his head frantically. "Lost," he whispered. "They're lost." As Mama Rose wrapped him in every blanket she owned, a chill ran down her spine that had nothing to do with the storm. This child's clothes, his bearing, even his fear, everything about him whispered of wealth and importance. And someone somewhere was probably looking for him. But she had no idea that by morning that someone would be at her door. Mama Rose woke to an eerie silence. The storm had passed, leaving the world buried under 3 feet of pristine snow. Beside her on the couch, Ahmed slept peacefully, his color finally returned to normal. She'd stayed up most of the night, feeding him warm soup and listening to his broken English as he tried to explain what happened. His story made little sense. He spoke of big cars and scary men and how he'd run into the woods when they came for Papa. The child was clearly traumatized, possibly imagining things. But when she'd helped him out of his wet clothes, she'd noticed something that made her hands tremble. A small, intricate medallion hung around his neck, solid gold, with Arabic inscriptions and what looked like a family crest. This wasn't costume jewelry. This was the real thing. "Ahmed," she said gently, waking him. "Sweetheart, I need to ask you something important. What's your last name?" The boy sat up, rubbing his eyes. In the morning light, she could see he was beautiful. Olive skin, thick black hair, features that spoke of nobility. "Ahmed bin Rashid Al Maktoum," he said clearly. Mama Rose's breath caught. Even she, a woman who rarely left her neighborhood, had heard that name. Al Maktoum, the ruling family of Dubai, one of the wealthiest families in the world. "Baby," she whispered, Are you a prince?" Ahmed nodded solemnly. "My father is Sheikh Mohammed. But the bad men, they want to hurt him. They took me from the hotel." His voice cracked. "I ran and ran, but I got lost in the snow." Mama Rose's mind raced. A kidnapping, international criminals, and somehow, this little prince had ended up in her backyard in Detroit. She needed to call the police, the FBI, someone, but her phone had no service, and the landlines were down from the storm. She was about to suggest they walk to her neighbor's house when she heard it, The deep rumble of powerful engines approaching. Multiple vehicles. Many of them. Ahmed's face went white. "They found me," he whispered. Mama Rose peered through her frost-covered window and felt her knees go weak. 12 identical black SUVs formed a perfect semicircle around her small house. They sat silent. Engines running, their dark windows reflecting the morning sun like watching eyes. This wasn't the police, this wasn't the FBI. This was something else entirely. "Stay behind me," she whispered to Ahmed, but the boy was already shaking his head. "No, they're not the bad men," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "Look at the flags." She looked closer and saw small UAE flags mounted on the lead vehicle. Her heart hammered as doors opened simultaneously, and men in expensive dark suits emerged. They moved with military precision, scanning the area before one of them. A tall man with kind eyes and a trim beard he recognized from news photos stepped forward. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, walked toward her door. "My God," Mama Rose breathed. "Your father came himself." Before she could process what was happening, a gentle knock came at her door. Not the aggressive pounding she'd expected, but a respectful tap. She opened it to find the sheikh standing there. His eyes filled with tears. "Ma'am," he said in perfect English, "I believe you have something precious that belongs to me." Ahmed ran past her into his father's arms, crying "Baba, Baba" in Arabic. The sheikh held his son tight, his shoulders shaking with relief. When he finally looked up at Mama Rose, his eyes held a depth of gratitude that made her chest tight. "How can I ever thank you?" he asked. "You saved my son's life." "Any mother would have done the same," she replied, but the sheikh shook his head. "No," he said firmly. "What you did was extraordinary, and I want to know everything. How did you find him? How did you know to help? Most importantly," his voice dropped, becoming more serious. "Are you safe? The men who took Ahmed, they're still out there." Mama Rose's blood ran cold. In all the excitement of the reunion, she'd forgotten about the kidnappers. Ahmed had escaped, but that didn't mean the danger was over. "Sir," she said quietly, "I think you better come inside. We need to talk." Inside her modest living room, surrounded by men who probably earned more in a day than she saw in a year, Mama Rose served tea in her best china, the set her grandmother had given her, the one she saved for special occasions. The sheikh accepted the cup gratefully. His son curled up beside him on her old couch. "Ahmed told me about the kidnapping," she began carefully. "He said bad men took him from a hotel." The sheikh's jaw tightened. "We were in Detroit for a business meeting. Ahmed was supposed to be safe in the penthouse with his security team. But someone inside our organization betrayed us. They disabled the security systems, drugged the guards, and took my son." His voice cracked. "When I found the guards unconscious and Ahmed gone, I thought I'd lost him forever." "How did you find him here?" Mama Rose asked. "We didn't. We've been searching all night with helicopters, thermal imaging, hundreds of men. But Ahmed's tracking device was damaged in the struggle. We were flying blind until 20 minutes ago when our surveillance team spotted the smoke from your chimney and decided to investigate every house in the area." Ahmed looked up at his father. "Mama Rose saved me, Baba. She gave me soup and blankets and made the scary dreams go away." The sheikh's eyes filled with tears again as he looked at her. "Mrs. Williams. Rose Williams. But everyone calls me Mama Rose. Mrs. Williams, you've given me back my world. My son is everything to me. His mother died when he was 3, and he's all I have left." He paused, studying her face. "But I need you to understand. You're in danger now. The kidnappers know Ahmed escaped somewhere in this area. They'll be looking for him, and anyone who might have helped him." As if summoned by his words, one of the sheikh's security team rushed into the room, speaking rapidly in Arabic. The sheikh's face went pale. "What is it?" Mama Rose asked, though she already knew she didn't want to hear the answer. 3 vehicles are approaching from the north. They don't belong to us. And they're not police." The sheikh stood, his demeanor shifting from grateful father to protective leader. "Mrs. Williams, I need you to trust me. Will you come with us? Right now?" Outside, the sound of approaching engines grew louder. I can't just leave, Mama Rose protested, looking around her small home, the only place she'd known for 40 years. This is all I have. Mrs. Williams, the sheikh said urgently. They killed 2 of my security guards last night. These aren't ordinary criminals. They're professionals, and they don't leave witnesses. Through the window, she could see 3 black sedans approaching fast, their windows tinted dark. They weren't trying to be subtle anymore. Ahmed pressed closer to his father, his small body trembling. Mama Rose, the boy whispered, please come with us. I don't want the bad men to hurt you. Her heart broke looking at his frightened face. This child had already lost his mother, had been kidnapped and terrorized. She couldn't bear to add to his trauma by refusing to protect herself. My photo albums, she said quickly. I need my photo albums. 30 seconds, the sheikh said, nodding to his men. 2 of them rushed with her to her bedroom, where she grabbed a small suitcase and threw in her most precious photographs. Pictures of her late husband, her son who died in Iraq, her grandson Marcus before the cancer took him. The only family she had left existed in these images. As they rushed back to the living room, the lead SUV's engine roared to life outside. The sheikh's security team moved with military precision, surrounding them as they headed for the door. Mrs. Williams, the sheikh said as they reached the threshold, I want you to know, whatever happens next, you'll never want for anything again. You saved my son, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure you're protected and cared for. I didn't do it for a reward, she said. I know. That's what makes you remarkable. They rushed toward the SUV as the hostile vehicles closed in. Mama Rose took one last look at her little house, wondering if she'd ever see it again. As the sheikh's convoy pulled away, she saw men in dark clothes emerge from the sedans, guns drawn, kicking in her front door. She'd made the right choice. But as they sped away into an uncertain future, one question burned in her mind. What kind of life was she headed toward now? The private jet was unlike anything Mama Rose had ever imagined. Cream leather seats, mahogany tables, and windows that offered a breathtaking view of the world below. As they flew toward Dubai, the sheikh sat across from her, Ahmed sleeping peacefully in the seat beside him. I've been thinking about what you said, he began quietly. About not wanting a reward. But Mrs. Williams, this isn't about payment. It's about family. She looked at him questioningly. Ahmed hasn't slept peacefully since his mother died 3 years ago. He has nightmares every night. But last night, in your home, he slept like a baby. You gave him something I couldn't. The feeling of being truly safe with someone who cared about him. The sheikh's voice was thick with emotion. In our culture, someone who saves a child becomes part of that child's family forever. You're not just Ahmed's hero, you're his grandmother now. Tears streamed down Mama Rose's face. I lost my grandson 2 years ago. Cancer. He was Ahmed's age. Then we both know what it means to lose someone precious. And we both know what it means to find unexpected family. The sheikh reached across and took her hand. I've prepared a home for you in Dubai. Nothing ostentatious, just a comfortable place where you can live with dignity and peace. You'll have a monthly allowance that will ensure you never worry about money again. But most importantly, you'll have Ahmed and me. We need you, Mrs. Williams, more than you know. She looked out the window at the clouds below, thinking of her empty house in Detroit, her lonely days, her quiet nights. What about the men who tried to hurt Ahmed? Are they still dangerous? They've been arrested. My security team worked with the FBI to track them down. It turns out they were working for a business rival who thought kidnapping Ahmed would give them leverage over me. They were wrong about everything, including underestimating a woman from Detroit who wouldn't let a child freeze in the snow. Ahmed stirred in his sleep, reaching out instinctively. Without thinking, Mama Rose took his small hand in hers, and he settled back into peaceful slumber. You know, the sheikh said softly, I think he's been waiting for you his whole life. 6 months later, Mama Rose stood on the balcony of her Dubai apartment, watching Ahmed play in the garden below with his tutors and friends. The morning sun painted the city in shades of gold, and the Persian Gulf sparkled in the distance. It was a view she never tired of, a life she never could have imagined. Teta Rose, Ahmed called up to her using the Arabic word for grandmother. Come see the roses we planted. She smiled and headed downstairs to the garden, where Ahmed had insisted they plant a section of roses in honor of her name. As she knelt beside him to examine the blooming flowers, she marveled at how much they'd both changed. The traumatized little boy was now confident and happy, speaking fluent English and excelling in his studies. And she, well, she'd found purpose again. "The roses are beautiful, Habibti," she said, using the Arabic term of endearment he'd taught her. "Just like you," he replied, hugging her tight. The sheikh appeared in the garden, as he did every morning before his official duties began. "How are my two favorite people today?" "Wonderful," Mama Rose replied, meaning it completely. "Ahmed was just telling me about his presentation on American history. I told them about how brave American women can be," Ahmed said proudly. "I told them about you." The sheikh smiled. "Mrs. Williams, I have some news. The children's hospital you suggested we fund in Detroit is ready to break ground. They're calling it the Marcus Williams Memorial Hospital, in honor of your grandson." Mama Rose's eyes filled with tears. Through her grief, through her loneliness, through that terrible night in the snow, she'd never imagined that saving one lost child would lead to saving so many others. The boy she'd rescued had become her family, and together they were creating a legacy of compassion that would outlast them all. As they stood together in the garden, surrounded by roses and possibility, Mama Rose realized that sometimes the most extraordinary journeys begin with the simplest acts of kindness. She'd opened her door to a child in need, and in return, the world had opened its arms to her. 2 years had passed since that fateful blizzard in Detroit, and Mama Rose's life had become a testament to how one moment of compassion could reshape the world. She stood at the podium of the United Nations General Assembly, her hands steady despite the magnitude of the moment. Representatives from 1930 countries looked up at her, waiting to hear from the woman who had become known globally as the guardian angel of Detroit. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her voice carrying the quiet strength that had seen her through decades of hardship. "I stand before you today not as someone special, but as proof that extraordinary change begins with ordinary kindness." In the audience, she spotted the sheikh and Ahmed in the front row. Ahmed, now 10 years old, wore a small American flag pin alongside his UAE pin, a symbol of the bridge he'd become between two worlds. He gave her an encouraging thumbs up, and she smiled. "2 years ago, I was just an elderly woman living alone in a tiny house in Detroit. I had lost my husband, my son, and my grandson. I thought my purpose in life was over." Her voice grew stronger. "Then one night, during the worst blizzard in decades, I found a lost child in my backyard. I didn't know he was a prince. I didn't know his father ruled one of the world's wealthiest nations. I just knew he was cold, scared, and needed help." The assembly hall was silent, hanging on every word. That decision to open my door changed everything. Not just for me, not just for Ahmed, but for thousands of children around the world. Because when you save one child, you learn that every child deserves to be saved. She gestured to a large screen behind her, which displayed images of the 12 children's hospitals that had been built in her name across America in Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, Oakland, and 8 other cities with large African American populations. Each facility was state-of-the-art, offering free medical care to children regardless of their family's ability to pay. The Marcus Williams Memorial Hospital Network has already treated over 50,000 children, she continued. But that's just the beginning. Today, I'm announcing the global expansion of our mission. The screen changed to show architectural plans for hospitals in Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed and I are partnering to build 20 more facilities across Africa. Because healing knows no borders, and compassion speaks every language. The audience erupted in applause. But Mama Rose wasn't finished. "I also want to tell you about the Ahmed Rose Foundation for Lost Children, a network that helps locate missing children worldwide and supports families in crisis. Last month alone, we helped reunite 47 children with their families." Her voice cracked slightly. "Every child who comes home is someone's grandson, someone's daughter, someone's whole world." After the presentation, as delegates approached her with congratulations and partnership offers, Mama Rose felt overwhelmed by how far they'd come. The sheikh appeared at her side, as he always did when she needed support. "Nervous?" he asked quietly. "Terrified," she admitted. Who am I to be speaking to world leaders? You're the woman who taught us all that real leadership isn't about power or position, it's about seeing someone in need and choosing to help, even when you have very little to give yourself. Ahmed squeezed between them, his eyes bright with excitement. Teta rose. Did you see? The lady from UNICEF wants to work with us. And the man from Germany said they want to build hospitals there too. She hugged him close, marveling at how this child had grown from a frightened boy into a confident young advocate for other children in need. What do you think? Habibi, are you ready to help even more kids? Yes, he said emphatically. Because you taught me that helping people isn't about how much money you have. It's about how much love you have in your heart. As they walked together through the UN corridors, Mama Rose reflected on the journey that had brought them here. She thought about her empty house in Detroit, which had been converted into a community center, offering free meals and shelter for homeless families. She thought about the scholarship fund they'd established for underprivileged children and the job training programs for single mothers. But most of all, she thought about the letters she received daily from around the world, from parents thanking her for inspiring them to adopt children from foster care, from teenagers who'd been motivated to volunteer at homeless shelters, from elderly people who'd started mentoring programs in their communities. You know what the most beautiful part is? She said to the sheikh as they settled into the car that would take them back to the hotel. What's that? Every person we've helped is helping someone else. That little boy I saved in the snow, he's created an avalanche of kindness that's rolling across the world. The sheikh smiled. And it all started with a woman who simply couldn't walk past a child in need. As their car pulled away from the United Nations building, Mama Rose looked out at the bustling streets of New York City. Somewhere out there, she knew, other acts of kindness were happening. Small moments that might seem insignificant but could change the world. She'd learned that heroism wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about opening your door when someone knocked, offering warmth to someone cold, and believing that every life mattered. The boy she'd found in the snow had given her more than she'd ever given him. He'd given her proof that love multiplies when it's shared. The lost boy had found his way home, and in saving him, she'd helped countless others find their way too.